Hey guys, so I wanted to attempt to talk about limiting beliefs and what they are and are not, or how to use beliefs and limiting beliefs and limits and all that shit effectively. And I want to just start off by saying I think this can get really confusing really fast if you don't just have an innate sense about all of this. And it can get really confusing about if what you're thinking in relation to yourself and whatever you're trying to manifest is appropriate or not. And there are people spending a lot of time, I think, trying to unnecessarily undo beliefs that they have about things that maybe they've been told are limiting or they suspect are limiting because of the way that phrase has now grown to just include basically anything that is a definitive statement, which is absurd. And so I wanted to just try to talk about this a little bit and restore some sense into this space in whatever small form I can. So basically, this channel especially, this whole thing is all about your beliefs and how they structure your world and how they basically set the stage for what's going to happen in your life. And how basically every belief you have is just an idea that you're agreeing with, that you believe to be true. And that's basically the simple extent of it. And they're all something that you can look at and question and decide if you think they're true or not. But beliefs, by their nature, essentially, most beliefs, almost all beliefs, are essentially limits. They are a statement of what is. So that, what is cannot be what is not. So therefore, it's drawing a line. It's defining something. So essentially, all beliefs are limiting in that way. And what really matters is whether or not the belief you have is going to provide you with what you want to have happen in your life. I mean, that's really at the heart of everything. Manifestation, right? That's really all that matters is this belief something that is going to be conducive to me getting what I want or feeling how I want, really. And so a lot of times, beliefs that you have that contain limits, which is all of them, but beliefs that you have specifically can seem to be limiting while at the same time getting you exactly where you want to go. So, for example, a lot of people say that having to do any kind of work on yourself, any kind of direct work on your self-concept or something like that, is limiting. You don't have to do any of that. You can get it without doing that. That's something that people love to say. And I'm going to tell you right now, the only reason that anybody says that, literally, is that they don't want to do the work on themselves that has to be done to get what they want. Nobody who has gotten everything they wanted and gone through this is going around telling everybody, you don't have to do anything. You can get this without. It's just, I don't believe that's happening anywhere. I haven't seen any evidence of anybody that actually has come out and shown who they are and what they've done, then saying you can just get all this stuff without doing, whatever. It's just, in practice, it doesn't generally happen that way. You don't generally snap from being a very limited and unsuccessful person to being limitless and just wildly creating. And if you're that person, you're going to know it, and this is going to be irrelevant to you. For everybody else, getting to know yourself and what your limits are right now and what is preventing you from getting what you want is going to be the key to everything. So if every time you say a statement to yourself like, well, I'm not very good in this area, so, you have to look at something like that. Like, my strong suit isn't, this part of life. My strong suit isn't money. You have to look at that and say to yourself, is this a belief that is preventing me from getting what I want right now? Or is this just me taking an assessment of where I'm at Like, is there a judgment on this thing that I believe that is limiting me from moving forward? Or is it just, am I just making an observation without any judgment about where I am, so as to, help myself determine the best path forward? At some point in your life, or in some life, you're probably going to want to overcome every single thing that you have, every single limit or area of trouble or whatever that you have. But for the purposes of getting whatever it is that you want right now, knowing yourself and where you're at is pretty important, if you ask me. And that probably includes a lot of limits. So, like, trying to think of something for myself right now, something that's limited, that kind of goes across the board. I think that personally, I lack confidence in myself in certain areas, and that has certainly factually limited me. For example, my business could probably be a lot bigger than it is right now if I felt like I was the type of person to have, like, I just don't feel like I'm one of those people that, is going to be top 40 under 40. I'm older now. Top 50 under 50. I just don't feel like I'm one of those people. Like, I don't feel like I'm this standout with this brilliant business mind, with this, vision. And so that has probably limited me a lot in my life. It hasn't limited me from making a ton of money. It hasn't limited me from building a business, but it did influence me to build it in a certain way. It's almost certainly stunted its growth. And that's not something that escapes me. I've talked about that. I talked about that last year on videos here. And it's just something that I don't really, right now, I don't feel like that's a limiting belief that I have to address. At some point, maybe not. But, to say to myself, if I had said to myself, like, when I started my business in 2010 or whatever it was, in earnest, the current iteration of my business, when I started it then, if I had said, well, I'm not a great business mind, so why even try? I'm not, I'll never be that type of person, so, I should just finish my degree and get a desk job or something like that. If I had allowed that idea of myself that is limiting, I'm not of the class of the people that really excel and do something amazing in this area. If I had allowed that to stop me from even trying, or even saying, well, I'll achieve what I can or whatever, or saying, well, I do think I can create a small business that is not ostentatious, or where I'm not being interviewed on CNBC or something. I can do that and provide for myself and get what, not have to have a job and an office or have a boss or whatever. Then that would have been a very limiting belief that needed to be addressed, right? It would be preventing me from getting what I wanted. And truly, like, being interviewed on CNBC for being some great business mind is not some deep desire of mine. It just isn't. It's not because I don't think I'm that. It's just I don't want that. I don't know. It's not something that's important to me. If I did want that, if that was something I really felt a drive for, then that would be a limiting belief that really needed to be addressed and changed somehow. You have to, basically I'd have to plug in the cartridge, really dating myself here. I'd have to plug in the cartridge into the Intellivision that loaded the program, where I'd have to go through the thing to get over that limiting belief. That's really all you have to do, is just recognize I have this limiting belief that's stopping me from getting what I want, and I want to be, I want to go through the bridge of incidents to being on the other side of it, where I no longer have that belief. It's no longer true for me, whatever that means for you. It might be literally looking at it, picking it apart, and just understanding that it's just some idea that you had, and you've just finally put some actual focus on examining it and realizing it's not true. You might never feel that way again just by doing that. But you might also have to be led through a bridge of incidents where at your mom's birthday party, you talk to your grandma and she tells you some story about your dad from when he was 5, and you realize, oh my God, it's my dad. It's my dad who planted this belief in me, and it's because of this thing that grandma just talked about when he's 5, and this is obvious. And now I realize this was just programming. It just came from him. It's not even real. And poof, it's like your eyes are opened. That is somehow how it happens. Sometimes how it happens. But so when it comes to the limiting beliefs issue, really, it can be nuanced in this way. And if you just look at every single definitive statement that you make about yourself and say, well, that's not true, that's not true, that's a limiting belief, I mean, you're just going to be fumbling in the dark. That's what I see happening everywhere. And it's not happening to me in general, which is why I'm making this channel. And honestly, it's funny. I've been working this out for myself lately. And man, like, I did not see this coming. But I made a video recently about the resistance that I had to this channel growing. And since this channel hit 10,000 subscribers, which was, I think, I don't know how long ago now, maybe a month, something like that. The last month of my life has been nuts because something about seeing that number scrambled my brains. I was really focused on my business, which, having had this singularity of focus, it just produced this enormous result. And when it comes to that specific thing, when I can block everything else out, amazing things happen there. Like, amazing growth happens when the business is my focus and it, I decide that it's worth spending my time on. Since my channel got to 10,000 subscribers, which is whatever, really, but something about that, it triggered me. It made me, because I'm, obviously this is my real area of passion. Like, selling products and making shitloads of money is a really fun pastime for me. It's like a video game. Even though it's kind of a pain in the ass sometimes, it's really fun. It's really fun to be able to have this thing where, if I put all my focus on it, I get this huge result. It's a really fun part of my life, but it's not a passion. Business is not my passion. This curiosity about everything metaphysical and everything having to do with what I discuss on this channel, this is the real passion. And when I saw that number, I was like, okay, is this like the trigger for the like, should I start focusing on the passion now? Can I, like, is everything else set up enough that I could really start to put more energy on this and start to do stuff with this? And it just really, first of all, for like the first 2 weeks of May, my business just completely tanked. I could not focus on anything there. My mind was all over the place. And the reason for that, the reason that my focus got so scattered was that when I turned my attention to this, specifically, not just like reading about and personally figuring things out in this area, when it came to, do I put some focus on like building, like doing something here, like growing this channel, writing in this area, it brought up 10,000 of these limiting beliefs. And yesterday I wrote this all out. It was really annoying. Like, sorry to be all over the place here, but this like all over the place mental thing, especially with work. Every time I would be at work, I would have this fight or flight feeling because I wanted to be focusing so much elsewhere. And it was like irritating, and I just wanted to like run away from work and come back to this thing because of how scrambled my brains are about it. I really wanted to figure it out. I really wanted to be focusing my attention not on growing the channel, but on figuring out why I was feeling so crazy about it and kind of upset about it. It was just not a good feeling. It was like this overstimulated feeling, not in a good way. And like, I want to say like 3 or 4 days ago, I said, okay, I have got to get work on autopilot so that I can put the attention in this one area that I really need to, because when you focus, like I was just saying, when all of it goes to one place, it's amazing things happen. And I felt like it was just dissipated all over the place. Nothing, I wasn't making any headway here. I was fucking up at work. So I was like, okay, I have to put this on pause and bring myself back into focus at work. And I need to really efficiently, I'm going to do this over 30 days. For the next 30 days, I am going to efficiently, I'm going to put all my focus on work and get everything set up. I'm going to get the entire schedule for the year done. For like the next 365 days, I'm going to get an ironclad schedule done. I am going to figure out exactly what I need to order from all of my vendors and when, so that this is like push a button and I'm done. I'm going to write all of the sales emails. I'm going to do 10 a day for the next 30 days. It's not that hard. It's just really annoying getting into that zone. And I've been getting into that zone every day instead of just doing a whole bunch at once. I'm going to get this all done. That was what I decided. And instantly all of the craziness was gone and the focus was back. Instantly the business sprang back to life. And I've been doing this for the last few days, but unfortunately, thanks to that internal gut thing that I was talking about in my video yesterday, this was just, it was just like there bothering me. And I've noticed this now. It's so great to understand this. I've noticed now that I have certain urges to do bad things, things that are counter to what I want in my life when I am feeling a certain way and ignoring it. So yesterday I noticed this and I said, okay, I've got to go address this. I'm going to sit in my car with my notebook and I'm going to write out all of the things that I'm feeling that are bothering me. And so I did that. And what's been bothering me is this area of my life, this YouTube channel, this subject matter, and my relation to everything having to do with it, and with other people, and with what I'm doing here, which I've said a million times, has been a very confusing thing for me the whole time. Didn't intend to have a YouTube channel, never intended to put my face out there talking about this. No desire to be well known. This isn't like some fame whore thing at all. The opposite. I've just been, there's been this sense of this is important, and not only to me, but for other people. And I think that sense basically has just come from people telling me it's been important to them, not necessarily some drive like I'm the chosen to talk about this, but it's just had a sense of importance. And I just sat down and wrote out all the things that are bothering me about it. And the amount of shit that came out, fuck, dude, hang on. Dude, the amount of shit that came out from this was crazy, okay? This is what limiting beliefs are. Not, I need to do work on myself so that I can clear my mind and be in a better place to get what I want. These are limiting beliefs. I feel small and unimportant. I feel like a joke. I feel like a bottom feeder. I feel unqualified. I feel like I don't have enough worldly experience. I feel lacking. I feel defensive. I feel like I'm obligated to educate myself more, and I don't want to. In fact, I think that would negatively impact my voice, yet it remains an ego issue. I feel embarrassed that I'm not more well-spoken. I feel embarrassed that I'm going through these things, the things that I talk about on this channel. I feel like so many other people who can say it better than I can are, so why even make the channel? I also feel that American middle-aged white woman has a certain association with New Age spirituality in a way I do not want to be associated with. Okay, there's a big one. I feel as a woman I'm not taken seriously. I don't feel like my YouTube channel is something to be taken seriously. And here's another big one. I don't know if I need to read this exactly, but I've said this on this channel before. My brother, who I love and who is one of the most valuable people in my life, who I'm so glad exists, I really think growing up with him as my brother fucked me up. My parents did not intervene in childhood fights. They were just like, fight it out. They would separate us if that needed to happen, but they did not. They just were hands off, very hands off. And as a result, my brother was allowed to just say and do whatever he wanted to me, essentially. And I grew up all the way. I remember when this changed. He went to college. He came home. He was home one weekend. And he was like nice to me for the first time in my life. So for the first 19 years of my brother's life, he was just a total dick to me. And I was like, what? He's 4 years older than me. So he would make fun of everything I liked. He made fun of every persona that I tried on, and in a very mean way. Not in a fun older brother who loves you kind of way. He was just a very, very disapproving person. And I think I did a fucking amazing job of just going on and doing what I wanted anyway. But that's in there. And honestly, one of the biggest reservations I have about doing anything in this area is him finding out about it. And he wouldn't like harass me about it now, but just the judgment that I feel would be there. Like every time I think about this, I'm like, oh, he would see it. He would see it. I'm afraid he's going to see it now because he's on YouTube all the time. It's like just a matter of time. And so in there somewhere is like this feeling and this judgment from that environment that I grew up in the first like 15 years of my life. Just constantly being told that I'm lame, like that's really it. It's just like, oh, you're so lame. That's so dumb. You're such a poser. Oh, God, dude, he used to call me a poser all the time. And it just like, it got in there and it's still in there. So those things, those are limiting beliefs in that they actually are limiting something. They're holding something back from happening, right? If I didn't feel this way, what would I be doing? Who knows? So those are limiting beliefs. Like that's what that is. It's not, I'm human, so I have human limits. That's not a limiting belief. I'm human, so I have psychology that works in a certain way that has now really been mapped out like intricately since the time of Neville Goddard. It's like people that are into this from Neville Goddard are the worst with this. They just like completely reject everything that comes after 1960. And there have been incredible understandings about you and the way you work since then. And it's not a limiting belief to understand your own psychology and work with it. And for it to be the framework of how you create your life, which is what manifesting is, I was just chatting with Tim G not long ago. I'll link to his channel. I was just chatting with him recently about how limiting this language is that's been used. It's like this manifesting environment has produced this set of language. It's like a cult in a way. And if you don't, it's like it's making a separation where there doesn't need to be one. Your manifestation is just a thing that you want in your life. It's, before you heard about this stuff, did you call it a manifestation? Like if you can snap out of the manifestation language and come back to what you already knew everything to be, it's going to get a lot easier to get things using the concepts and the principles and stuff that have been turned into this thing. So, all right. I guess I just have to get used to the fact that I'm going to be my best example for all this shit forever. I had no intention of reading this notebook page. Something interesting also, as a side note. I have noticed that I have somehow drawn the similar, like how my brother was when I was a kid. I've noticed that I have somehow drawn a similar, much less offensive behavior out of my fiance. When we first met, he was, he didn't like make fun of any of the things that, in this area especially, he was kind of respectful about it. I don't know if he really buys into all of this stuff. I don't think he does totally. But at some point, I started feeling really dumb about this stuff. When I started to get back into it after my dad died, I took a 15-month break. It probably would have been shorter if I didn't feel so dumb about it in relation to Matt. I just started feeling like Matt thinks this is dumb. Matt thinks this is dumb. And I'm pretty sure that that was just a projection. Honestly, he never really, I don't know why. It's just like, it's this unhealed thing. And by unhealed, I just mean not examined and gotten rid of. For everybody who hates the term healing. And I really think that I created this behavior in Matt. This is one of those things that I think is totally legitimate about your relationship with other people. You know, he wasn't like that, and then he started being like that. And it began, I'm pretty sure, you know, chicken or the egg, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it started with me feeling really dumb about it because of all of these things that I just listed off. Like, that's how I really feel about this. That's not new. That's how I've always felt about this channel and what I'm doing here. And so I kind of projected this onto Matt and expected that. And I think I just kind of drew it out of him. And I don't think he's even doing it as much as I think he is. It's really obvious when other people are kind of conforming to what you think they're going to be like. But if you step back, you can see they're not even doing half of the things that you think they're doing. You know, like, you have these feelings, and so you interpret words and behaviors to have all this meaning behind them that aren't there. It's pretty crazy. Anyway, that was just a tangent. But I also have on this list, I feel, you know, I have on this notebook list how my brother, how I feel about, you know, my brother and how he treated me and stuff in relation to this, and how I think it's playing into this. And I wrote also, I feel this from Matt also to a lesser degree. Matt does remind me a little bit of all the men in my life. So my dad, my brother. So it makes sense that he would be sort of the blank screen for this to be playing out now, because my brother and I don't really have that relationship anymore. So that's interesting. And for the record, Matt's awesome. He doesn't do anything abusive or you know, he's like the most supportive person in the world. And so that's great. I don't want to in any way say anything that could insinuate in this way that Matt is some kind of dick, because he's not. So anyway, I mean, he is, just not in this area. Just kidding. So anyway, that's it. I hope that did something for somebody and dispelled some of the confusion about the limiting beliefs thing. I see so many things in this community called limiting beliefs that are not. Like, somebody is onto something. They're talking about something and talking about a limit, and somebody essentially corrects them and says that's a limiting belief. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that my channel is full of limiting beliefs. Dude, the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the 3D. That's where you know if you have a limiting belief or not. If you are constantly and consistently creating what you want, then you're doing the right thing regardless of whether you're using your limiting beliefs to do it or not. I mean, that's just the bottom line, right? So, like Neville said, the 3D will be the proof of whether or not you have changed, whether or not you are oriented correctly to have the thing that has to be natural in order for you to have it. That's all. Have a great day.